Hey everybody, Chef Eric Eisenbud here, the Grateful Chef, coming at you, first video of 2021, and we're psyched. We are doing part 2 of our Steak Ager Pro 40 related project. This is a lamb prosciutto. Hopefully you have seen the first video called The Cure, and what we did was, and I'm going to bring you up to speed, I took this beautiful leg of lamb. We did 2 6-day curing sessions in the refrigerator. So what that was is we rubbed it with spices. We rubbed it, with garlic. This has bay leaf. It's got, I'll have to look at the other spices. There were spices and some fresh sliced garlic, salt, everything. I put it in this bag and I put it in the fridge for 6 days. After 6 days, took it out, scraped off all the spices and got rid of the garlic. Then I re-seasoned it with the spices and I put fresh garlic on there and I let it go in there for another 6 days. So that's where we're at now. After a 12-day cure in the refrigerator, we're going to do the final steps to get ready to put this into our Steak Ager Pro 40 on charcuterie mode. I couldn't be more excited. This is the largest piece of charcuterie I've ever made, and I'm pretty excited about it. So, what a great way to start the new year. And we're going to have this. This will be ready for, like, Easter. It's very cool. Yeah. So, again, what I have here in the bag is the 12-day cured, called the EQ Cure. Equilibrium Cure. That's what it's known in charcuterie terms. I'm going to put this bag right into the garbage because we don't need anything that's in there. And I'm going to show you what we've got here. So you can see this is our beautiful leg of lamb. You can see all the spices. Let me see if I put it down if it's better. Lynn will do a flyby. So you can see I've got the pieces of garlic. I've got, this is bay leaf. I've got some cinnamon. I've got all sorts of cool spices in there. I'll go over the list before we shut down this video. You can see the garlic in here. Here's that hip bone right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to rinse it under cold water. So meet me over at the sink and we'll get going on this final step. All right, the cold water. And what I want to do is I want to rinse off all of these spices. All right, so I'm going to use my handy dandy sprayer. I'm going to make sure I get rid of all the garlic that may have embedded. This is beautiful.
If anybody has questions, just type away and I'll try and catch you. I am looking through 6 pages of comments. So
the one thing I noticed is nice and firm. And I don't think it shrunk any, but it's nice and firm. Smells absolutely delicious. All right, so I've got that rinsed off. I'm going to put this into a dry pan, and we're going back to the cutting board. How easy is that? I'm going to pat it dry slightly. Doesn't have to be totally dry because we want the spices and everything to stick. All right. Beautiful. So areas of concern, or not concern, areas where we really need to be careful. There's a little indent here. I want to make sure that I covered that well with the final spicing. And around this bone, all deep down in there, we need to make sure that we get that totally covered with the final spices. The final spicing is simple. It's rosemary and 2 different sizes of black pepper. Now I see that some of this silver skin has separated, so I think I'm going to remove it because that won't be good for eating. So I just want to give this a quick little trim. This is on the fly. This is my first time doing this. So I just want to get some of that silver skin off. Little short little cuts with a knife is all you need to get that silver skin off. definitely do not want to dig into the meat while I'm doing this.
I'm gonna come in close.
All right, so you got to use gravity. Cut that right off, because that won't, you know, that won't shrink, won't lose any weight from that. So I just want to take it off. It's not good eats. But truth of the matter is, we're going to slice this so very thin that having a little bit on that outside isn't going to really matter. All right, so I cleaned that up a little bit. Checking for some more. A little bit right here. Slipping my knife under it. See how it traps some of the water that I just put on it. So, good. Little paper towel. I just want to have it dry. Nice. Gorgeous. To this side, there's some on here. Let me see. I'm going to see if there's any that I can get to without cutting that meat. And see if I angled my knife up towards the silver skin, because the silver skin is actually very resilient to being cut. So next time I do this, I will be more careful when I first trim this leg of lamb, and I will cut this stuff off in advance.
Did you just not notice it last time?
Yeah, just you know, kind of loosened up a little bit from the cure. So I just want to pull off whatever I can. Again, we're slicing it super thin when we eat it, so it's not going to make a difference.
We've got lots of hellos and good wishes for the new year.
Oh, thank you guys. To you and yours as well. All right. This is fat. That's good. Fine. Beautiful. See how there's a muscle here? That's okay.
Come in.
That's just, you know, that's one muscle of the leg is other. I just want to make sure that I get in there really nice and well, because dark and moist places is what mold loves. So if we coat it properly, it'll be protected. That's our plan. All right, I'm going to do one more rack of paper towels here, because I definitely want to have this pan dry. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to tie it up, because we need to tie it in order to hang it. So, and again, this is called the violina style, as you can see, because it's in the shape of a violin. All right, so I am using not my big 24 gauge butcher's twine. I'm using slightly narrower, because the other stuff is, you know, it's like a lot of surface area, a lot of cotton, and I just want to make sure that, you know, because that could also be a place to harbor some bacteria or some mold. So typically, again, and the next time I get one of these and I want to do one of these, I'm going to ask that the bone not be Frenched like this. I want that covered with meat. So typically, if that was there, I would tie around the meat. So that's why I'm going a little higher up on the meat, not just directly on the bone. So we're going to make it nice and tight. Oh, don't know my own strength, honey.
That was really, really tight. That's why I can't open things when you close them.
Let's try that again. Doesn't have to be that tight. I just need to be tight enough so it can withstand the weight, its own weight when I hang it. All right. Good. Tie that. Make a little knot here. Okay, now I'm going to go kind of around the bone, you know, just to Make it look pretty. I'll go all the way down. Again, this is all to be able to withstand the weight of this leg. Nice. Cut this piece.
What are you doing?
Around. I'm going to tie it back to this piece. And again, next time this will all be on meat, not bone. Live and learn. That's what I love about this charcuterie thing, because yeah, you learn something new all the time. Maybe what I'll do is I'll try and tie this for a loop, and we'll see later if I need to do another loop. Okay, now this is not our only knot.
What else are you gonna do?
So now what I want to do is, now that I've got this end taken care of, I want to tie a knot around the other end. So we are going to go here. I'm going to leave a little extra.
Just in case you need the tail.
Yep. And this is going to help hold our shape of our prosciutto. So you can see what's going to happen. It's going to bring it together.
Come over.
And it's going to hold its shape. So right now it's kind of falling. When you tie it up, it's going to bring bring it together. It's going to help it cure evenly.
What does that do with that muscle?
Nothing. It's just going to bring it all together.
Okay.
Like so. Wrap it around. I'm going to do another loop here. There's 3 doesn't seem to be wanting to hold it. So the more loops you do around before you pull it tight, the more you have to hold it tight while you go to make that last. That's too many.
Are you cutting into the meat at all?
No. Just trying to get it to tighten down, which it doesn't seem to want. There we go. All right, so we got that. That's where I might need Lynn's finger. All right, there we go. I got it.
But I prepped with my finger.
All right. All right, so now we got that on the end. I'm going to do my typical butcher's technique where I grab it underneath. Same thing when I do a subprimal. Grab it underneath. I'm going to make a loop. We're going to slide it under. And I don't have to do this like every inch or whatever. So I'm just going to do like 3 of them. Like so. And do that ratchet method. Doesn't have to be super tight. Do another one. Slide it down. There we go. That's what I'm going to do with these 3. See, and every time I pull up, it tightens. I pull back down, tightens even more. I'm going to go flip it around. Now I want enough to slip underneath here, so I want to make sure I give myself enough string, and I'm going to feed it through.
Come take a look again.
Like so. I'm going to flip it back around. I'm going to meet up with What are these guys? Hold on. This guy right here. And I'm going to tie it off right here. Just like so. I know tying trussing rows is not the most exciting part of the video. I know.
It's a good learning part, though.
But yeah, I definitely need to know how to do it and to take your time. You know, once you do this a few times, like trussing the subprimal, you're good to go. All right, so there we've got that. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit because I think I'm going to use this to make another loop. Like so.
And what's that loop for?
So this is going to be the hang. Right? So we want it that long. Just going to take it together with this one. And we're going to tie this together. It's a little more difficult with gloves on, but just take your time. There we go. There we go. All right. I don't think that's going to work. I can wrap it around here. That'll work. All right, so I'm going to wrap it around the bone. Give it more tension.
Voila.
And there you go. That's how we're going to hang this baby. It's gorgeous. All right, before we hang, we got to re-season. So the final seasoning is very simple, but it's very important. Again, you want to cover all those areas that need to be covered. So first thing I want to do is I've got my grinder, and I want to tell you about this. I just bought this recently. This is a Cuisinart. And they're the first company that has had the wherewithal, instead of marketing, instead of marketing their coffee grinders to also grind spices, they're actually marketing this as a spice and nut grinder. It does a really great job with spices. So I've got some fresh rosemary, and I'm just going to pull these leaves off. I'm going to throw them in here. We're going to do a nice quick little pulse of the fresh rosemary. You don't need too much. You don't want it to overpower. You know how strong rosemary is. Recipe calls for 1 sprig. I'm going with like 2.5 here. And I think that's all I'm going to do. Put it in. And one of the reasons why this grinder rates so well is you can grind smaller amounts and it does just as good as if you were grinding larger amounts. So, and it's quiet.
It is so much quieter than the coffee grinder that you've used.
The other thing, I'm going to keep going. It's also bruising it, it's bringing out the oils. All right, the other cool thing about this is the cup comes off. Love it.
Question from Dimitri Fortuna.
Yes.
He said, how long do you think it'll hang before you can slice and eat?
I am thinking it'll probably take 4 months. So I'm putting a little bit of the rosemary on. Again, the rosemary isn't so important in those important areas. It's really just to flavor the meat. So that's good. The next thing I'm going to do is we are doing fresh cracked pepper. So I got my old Phenamil here. And so this is going to be a nice coarse grind pepper. Again, this is for flavoring.
And
Pat it down.
So the Phenamil lets you...
Yes, the Phenamil I could totally adjust, but we also need fine black pepper, and it would take me a while to grind enough fine black pepper to do what we need to do. So I ground that in my Cuisinart spice and nut grinder. All right, so that's just for seasoning. And here's the important, so here's fine pepper. I took fine ground pepper and I put it in the mill and I really buzzed it down to a really fine. And this is where we want to be careful. So we've got exposed meat here by the bone. I want to make sure that I am covering that completely, all right, on all sides. All right, so that's really important. I want to make sure it's there and it sticks. The other important end is, of course, by this bone. I want to make sure that I totally cover that. And hopefully you can get this on the camera. So if you can see the flyover.
Oh.
You know, I want that totally covered like that. So that's going to be what our final coating is.
Wow.
All right, get this whole side.
I was not envisioning that.
We're going to cover this whole thing.
And as Eric was grinding this up, we were both sneezing.
Oh, I'm about to.
Oh, it just hit me.
I love pepper.
Now, Brian Nagel just asked, will you be showing us how to do beef and pork charcuterie as well? Pepper sneeze.
Bless me.
Bless you.
Yes, there are videos of my other charcuterie. I've done bresaola, or braciole they call it. I've done pork lomos. I've done sausages, you know, cured and fermented sausages. I'm out there, so you can definitely find it. There are some recipes on my website, www.eatingwithcheferic.com. There's a section of dry aging and charcuterie recipes there, and you guys can reach out for me personally if you guys have any questions as you get more involved. So I definitely, if you're trying it for the first time, I definitely recommend doing whole muscle, like the lomo, like the braciola, which is made with an eye of round. You know, you get the best eye of round you can. It's really phenomenal. And you get, you know, that's a great way to, you know, to kind of get involved with doing the charcuterie. Safest way too, because charcuterie, there's a lot to know. To do it safely, and you know, you'll learn about curing salts and all that stuff. But you can definitely check out my stuff. So here we have this beautiful leg of lamb, totally encased in powdered pepper. Now, I know it's a lot of pepper, but again, we're slicing it so thin, you know, that you're only going to get a small amount per, you know, when you have a slice. There we go, guys. So that's what I'm looking for. And now the next step is I want to hang this at room temperature for 8 hours. So this is going to hang for 8 hours. And I just noticed something, since this has the bone exposed, it also has the bone marrow. So I want to make sure I cover that end of the bone. Press it in, cover it up. All right, so I'm going to hang this for 8 hours at room temperature, and after the 8 hours, I am going to put it into my Steak Ager Pro 40, and like I said, it's going to hang for, I'm assuming around 4 months, but we're not going by time, we're going by weight loss. So before I put this in, I'm going to weigh it on my scale, see how many grams it weighs, and we're going for a 35% weight loss. So I'll do the math every 10 days, week or 10 days, I'll weigh it and monitor the progress. And yeah, in April, this thing's gonna be killer. All right, so I'm gonna hang it right here. I've got a little container. I've got a hook. And that is gonna hang there for 8 hours, like so. Nothing's gonna drip, I just wanted to catch some of the pepper that may fall off of it. But look at this. Look how beautiful.
That looks really funny in our kitchen.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
After it dries, use the Christmas tree ornament.
Nice.
Anyway, so
But you mentioned the Steak Ager Pro 40.
yes.
So if you have a Steak Ager Pro 40, is
Yes.
there other equipment that you need?
No. I do. Well, if you have the Pro 40, you're gonna need to get the humidification aspect in order to do charcuterie. So you'll have to purchase that separately, but it's well worth it. I mean, the results that you get, the results I've gotten from all the charcuterie I've done, has been much better than store-bought. I actually have one of the, we're going to call them 2019 models of Pro 40 and the 2020 model. 2020 model right now is doing dry aging. So all my charcuterie I've done in the 2019 model. That's the one that had the bottle humidification and the toggle switch on the back to switch from modes. So the 2020 model, you just set that digital temperature to 50, yeah, and you're all set. You put the distilled water into the container of the humidification, slide it in, that's it, you're done. So either way, you want to have the humidification. And that's really the only reason why you need the humidification in the Pro 40 2020 model, because you don't really use it for dry aging unless you're going like 100 days or like, you know, over 60, we'll say. Then you might need it towards the end, but yeah, you definitely don't need it. Yes, Lynn?
Question from our studies. He said, what is the final intended flavor profile for this prosciutto?
Well, let's go over the curing spices that I used. So in the cure, there is brown sugar, cinnamon, cloves, black pepper, dry rosemary, bay leaves, and garlic. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get kind of like a sweetness, that little warmth of cinnamon and clove, but it's not a whole lot of cloves. And of course the garlic and the dried rosemary. So it's almost like a hunter's, you know, it's lamb. So you want those warm spices with lamb, and you know, it's kind of like definitely a winter kind of thing with the rosemary. So that's what you're getting. And now the black pepper, of course, is to protect the open areas, you know, and that'll also give you that little touch of heat. So that's what we're going for. This is my first one. So typically I'll do a recipe verbatim as I find it, or as I discover different recipes and put them together. Take one aspect from this recipe, one aspect from that. And then if I do it again, I'll change some flavor profiles. I used the lamb tenderloin, and I did, I'll show you, I did a real quick cure. Let's see what I did with it. What's in here? So this was a lamb loin, and I did that. It took a couple of weeks. And this has Szechuan peppercorn, Tianjin Chinese chilies. I washed it down with some Shaoxing wine. So this has got an Asian profile. Really nice. It's got a little bit of case hardening because I read the wrong number and I let it go an extra week by accident. But if you vacuum seal it, it will equalize. That case hardening will equalize. And it's actually really delicious. So once you get schooled in the safety protocols of making charcuterie, the whole world opens up. So anyway, that is our video today. The next time you see this guy is going to be somewhere around Easter, I'm assuming, and we'll do it. We'll slice it on my slicer, and we'll show you. Yes, Lynn.
How often are you going to check it?
I'll probably check it. You lose a lot of the weight in the beginning, so maybe I'll check it in a week, and then maybe another week, and then maybe I'll stretch it out to 10 days. You know, I tend to get into this rut. Saturday is my charcuterie check day, so if I go in to do one, I say, you know, I might as well just weigh them all. I have my black book. I write everything in the book for future reference. And if you hadn't seen, I also have a slicing pancetta that's hanging in my Pro 40 right now. That's going to take quite a while also. and that is using cure number 2. So when it is done, I'll be able to slice it on my meat slicer and eat it like in a sandwich. You don't have to cook it first before you eat it. So I'm excited about that. So lots of great charcuterie things going on here. I am pulling 2 subprimals out of my Pro 40 2020. Maybe I'll do I will definitely do another breakdown video if you guys don't mind. You know, I've done them before, but hey, let's do them. This is using that Allen Brothers. I got an Allen Brothers Angus Choice, and I've got an Allen Brothers Prime, and they'll be coming out 10 days apart. So we'll do that for you. And that's it, man. Again, anytime you guys have questions about charcuterie, culinary questions pertaining to the Steak Ager Pro 40 or not, feel free to reach out. If I can answer, I will. If I don't know the answer, I'll certainly find out what the answer is. And that's it. Everyone, have a great day. Kick the new year off healthy and well. And we'll see you on the next Grateful Chef Steak Ager video. Peace.